Welcome back to Wasting Time in the Woods, the place where I obsess over the most expensive crap in the camping world, and then I cut corners on the execution so that I can tell you all about my cheap finds and massive regrets. Not this time though, no. I needed a new water can this year and I went big. This bad boy is the 20 liter or 5 gallon water jerry can from Front Runner, and it is the most expensive water can on the market. But it leaks. Yeah, kind of like that. Stick around to find out why I'm kind of regretting this purchase for more than just paying retail for once. All right, those of you who have been watching me make a fool of myself here for a while will know that I have an obsession with water. I am as pasty as a pie crust, and I live in Arizona. We like to camp way up in the mountains at about 7,500 feet, and this year it got to nearly 100 degrees at our favorite spots for several days. When you combine my Welsh complexion and tendency to drink like an Irishman around the fire, well, I have to carry a lot of hydration with me. As a family, we need about 5 gallons of water per day minimum to survive. Enter the jerry can. This beautiful piece of pre-World War II technology has followed us for nearly 90 years. While the form has stayed pretty much the same, the function has shifted a bit over the years. These days, nothing is more ubiquitous to the overlanding and off-road community than the proclivity to strap on a big pair of cans on your truck and head out into the wilderness or the mall. Yeah, whatever. The jerry can is an amazing invention that was originally created by the German military in the 1930s to improve upon the old container and funnel method of transferring fuel. Hence the name jerry can. They're standardized to 20 liters or just over 5 gallons, and they come in a variety of materials and colors these days. They make them in different materials to transport water or fuel, but don't try and put Coke in them. That would be a Jerry Garcia can. Painfully true jokes aside, they do come in a variety of materials for specific purposes. You want to make sure that the jerry can that you use for water is made specifically for it, because the plastics made for fuels are not safe for drinking water. Some can leach formaldehyde into the water, so don't be like Flint, Michigan, and, well, you know where I was going with that. You want to make sure that the can you get is specifically made for water, like this. Top of the market, amazingly expensive $60 can from Front Runner. Now, you can get a similar can anywhere from $15 to $40 and everywhere in between, but this guy stands out being nearly 50% above the commodity competitors. We paid $57 plus tax and shipping, and we paid the extra $15 for the brass spigot upgrade. So in total, we paid about $85 delivered. That better be some pretty tasty water. And it is. We've had this thing out a bunch of times now, and the one thing that is for certain is that it doesn't have that nasty plastic aftertaste that the cheaper cans can leave when they get hot. On that note, I was a bit worried about the color. They're dark gray, and I'm planning on leaving them on the outside of the car eventually, which means they'll see a lot of sun. I did a little test by leaving them in the Arizona sun for a few hours on a hot September day. After about 2.5 hours in direct sunlight, the can was pretty toasty, to be honest with you, but the water was still a drinkable 105 degrees with absolutely zero plastic aftertaste. Yeah, that's very warm. I probably should have rinsed this out after I got it from the factory. The first thing that I noticed when we got it was that when I replaced the tap here, the can has kind of a funny construction. The can looks like a roto-molded cooler, but the nylon insert that the tap goes into is a different material. When I unscrewed the plastic spigot it comes with, I noticed that they had used a ton of Teflon tape between the plastic tap and the nylon insert, so tolerances obviously aren't too high on this guy. But that's not where it leaks. I'll get to that in a minute. The plastic spigot that it comes standard with is kind of a piece of junk, to be honest with you. It takes a bit of force to open the valve, and because it uses both an O-ring and has a bunch of play in the threads, you end up turning the spigot sideways if you try and operate it with one hand. The brass pepcock is a great upgrade though. It's easy to use with one hand, it feels extremely durable, and you know, it just looks prettier. The recessed cutout for the spigot is really the reason I ponied up the extra cash for this guy. Having the spigot tucked away allows it to be connected yet still protected. It's great for peace of mind and quick access. The competitors all have a spigot that just kind of pops out of the side here, or they only offer access to the water through the fill port. Now, we've had this out all summer, and the entire family loves it. It works great. Oh, except for, well, I'll just show you. Yeah, it drools. Now, I messed with this for days, and no matter what I tried, it just kept drooling. It has a big giant O-ring in the lid, which should make it really tolerant of any defects or warping around the lip of the spout, but no matter how much I cranked it down, it drooled. Now, this isn't really that big of a deal, I guess, you know, as long as you don't tip it over, or as long as your kid or your dog doesn't kick it over, as long as that doesn't happen when you're really deep in the bush and away from a water source. Yeah, this isn't how an $83 jerry can is supposed to perform, I don't think. Now, I did a leak test and it did slow down eventually. I think it was due to the vacuum, but after 30 minutes, it was just dripping out. Still enough to lose a fair bit of water overnight if it got tipped over. But no worries, this is Front Runner, right? It's gotta be a singular defect. They're the upper echelon of the overlanding market, right? Surely they'll take care of me, and they tried. I called them up and explained what was going on, and they asked me to send a bunch of pictures and videos, which I did. They apologized and shipped me right out a new one. It took about a week, and when it arrived, I was stoked. Now I had a slightly leaky jerry can and a new jerry can that they said that I could keep, and surely that one would be watertight. I ripped open the box like it was Christmas. I took it right outside, topped it up with the hose to test it, cranked that cap down, tipped it on its side, and watched in disbelief as it drooled on my shoes. Yep, same result. So I quickly called Front Runner back, and they agreed to take a can out of the box and test it on their end. I thought for sure they had a manufacturing defect at this point. They pulled the can out, filled it full of water, turned it upside down, and nothing. No leaks. Yeah, they even sent me a video of it. Now, I'm not that smart. You guys know that by now, and I'm not that handy, but I've got this whole screw a lid on thing down. So, as we film this, I have another third Front Runner jerry can snaking its way through the bowels of the United Postal Service, probably sitting next to a couple mail-in ballots who look like their parents are going through a nasty divorce. Too soon? Anyways, we will see what happens when the next one shows up, and I know that you guys will all be here to point out all the stuff I got wrong, and that's okay. As long as you hit subscribe and leave a comment below about the water storage that you use on the trail. Well, hey, look at that, we made it, the end of another video. Most people have usually clicked off to a cat video by now, but since you're still here, let's